Good afternoon, everybody. It is Monday, August 21st, 2 p.m. Eastern. Hope you had a good weekend. We're going to talk about Bitcoin. I'm Charting Man Dan with the Chart Guys. And we're going to talk about Bitcoin. Bigger picture, macro, environment, status, and then also zoomed in. Going to talk about altcoins and the crypto stocks. And then we'll see what you all want to talk about as well. Thanks as always for the likes and the shares and the comments and the interaction on the social media. First things first, what is it even called? This new crypto fad. Friend what? Friend something. Friend tech. So friend tech to me seems like a pyramid scheme where essentially an influencer creates a group and has someone buy coins or whatever of their group. And then the more people that join, the more it goes up in value. And it just seems to me that that is an inevitable recipe for bag holders. And you've got people on social media like, why are you dogging? Not to me, but just in general. Why are people negative about friend tech? We finally have, a user-friendly crypto app that's gaining popularity. And it's really, are we going to just do this again where some early people make a bunch of money and everybody hears about it and then everybody piles in and 90% of people end up bag holders? Is that just going to be what crypto is for the next decade? Like just little versions of this? Anyways, here we go again. I'm not doing it, but that's what a lot of crypto people are talking about over the last week. Friend tech. I don't get it. All right. So Bitcoin, we had a weekly rising wedge. And we couldn't look at this and say, this is a rising wedge. But we could look at this and say, we need to be cautious of a rising wedge. The first time I started looking at this being a potential pattern and started talking about it was as soon as we broke resistance of 31,000 with no follow through. Whenever you're trending in one direction, and a longer term lower high is most likely, or higher low, depends on what direction you're looking in. The breaks that start to lack follow through show you exhaustion. And again, it was a number of factors. It was the daily bull break on Bitcoin, a higher high, no follow through, while stocks ripped higher. During this point in time, for Bitcoin right here, MARA and RIOT shot up 40 to 50%. And Bitcoin didn't do a thing. Just sideways. And so we eventually rolled over. We had fear in the last couple of weeks in the broader stock market as we finally pulled back after 3 months of straight up. And so that fear in the broader market definitely helped this bear break here. And this is something that we were talking about back with good old Cheds. Again, right as it shaped up. Cheds was saying a month ago, 6 weeks ago, unclear, though it does favor bulls. I still believe a throwback to 28.5K is more likely. And so I look at that and say, well, if we're going to 28.5K, then this is going to be a rising wedge. We got to be cautious of that. And so that was right when the bull break lacked follow through. And if we start weekly consolidation from here, this rising wedge then gains probability. And so it eventually rolled over. And again, as I keep saying, it's the dollar, the dollar, the dollar, the dollar. Watch the dollar. The dollar. Look at the periods where the dollar just had. So we could say overall the dollar has been bearish since this is when the stock market hit fear bottom at the end of last year. And we have had 3 major bounces since then. We had a bounce all of February. We had a bounce most of May. And now we've got this 5-week bounce. And we look at the Bitcoin chart and say, what happened during those periods in time? So where's February? This is February. Where is most of May? I need to X this out because these alerts are distracting me. Most of May is right here. And what do we got now? 5 weeks. Right here. So pretty much every single period of consolidation that Bitcoin has seen since the fear bottom has aligned with a month to 5 week bounce in the dollar. We did get one bear trap here. This was a bear trap because we flushed. Uh-oh, we're going back to fear lows. Game over. V-shape. What happened as that happened in March? All out flush, hit daily oversold, V-shape. The low was hit on March 10th. The dollar, what did we do on March 10th? We had just started rolling over into daily consolidation. And then from that point, we were bearish the dollar the next 5 weeks. So for this current move to be a bear trap, what I have to see happen is the dollar top out into weekly consolidation. I'm watching a 12-hour rising wedge on the dollar. It is not confirming at this point. But this is such a major factor. And this has kept me from trying to long crypto before this big bear break. My mindset the prior 3 weeks was, if I do not have confidence that the dollar is topping out, I'm not looking long metals, I'm not looking long crypto. And we didn't give any confidence that we were topping out. So we just saw the dollar lose the daily stair step. All right, now it's still a strong daily uptrend. This chart has to significantly weaken into multiple weeks of consolidation if we're going to see Bitcoin, in my opinion, if we're going to see Bitcoin see a weekly bounce to try to get back to 28,000. Now, of course, any kind of ETF headline or anything like that can throw that correlation, that inverse correlation out the window. But in my opinion, it is absolutely something you got to be paying attention to. And it's been a good guide. It's just one piece of the puzzle, but it was a piece of the puzzle that saved me from a loss. Without that, I would have absolutely made a long entry within the last 3 weeks and stopped out. It wouldn't have been a big loss. I wouldn't have been aggressively bullish, but it's worth paying attention to. So Bitcoin right now is still extremely weak. We did nothing over the weekend, just sideways. We're currently struggling with 4-hour EMA 12. And what the bulls need to see here is an hourly uptrend confirm in their favor for a 12-hour higher low. I'm viewing this as the fear low of the flush, 12-hour lower high, 26.3 thousand, and now we're trying for a 12-hour higher low compared to the fear low. We're still crushed on RSI levels for the 12-hour and the daily chart right now. But we've got to hold the fear low and break 26.3 for the daily bounce to be underway, and then we'll watch daily EMA 12 resistance coming into play. But bulls aren't going anywhere unless they confirm an hourly uptrend, get over 4-hour EMA 12 resistance, and break 26.3 thousand. And so with this weakness, we're seeing a ton of weakness remain in the crypto stocks. Look at this absolute free fall, where again, RIOT and MARA traded sideways for a month plus, exploded to the upside, and now free falling back to that range. And there's no sign of a daily bounce at this point, and we're still seeing relative weakness, where there are points today where QQQ was at the high of the day, Bitcoin was at the high of its bounce on the morning, and RIOT and MARA just were not participating. So it's a daily stair-step drop at this point, lower high every single day, 9 days in a row. We're crushed. Again, RSI is not much help down here. 4-hour, 12-hour RSI, crushed. We're looking for a daily bounce, and then we're looking for a daily lower high to be the result of that bounce. MARA is a little bit less crushed, but it is doing the same thing. And coin, trying to show a little bit of relative strength today. Coin had a spike due to some options activity that just shifted things about 45 minutes ago. But same deal. Big move up, stair step up, stair step down. Sometimes you look at the stair step patterns, and if you don't know what that is, Google TheChartGuys stair step, and you think it's too easy. It can't be this easy. And sometimes it is. Trading is hard, but we also like to complicate it and overcomplicate it. This is a higher low every single week. That pattern breaks at 98.71. It's now been a lower high every single week while we pulled back 20% plus. J&J was a stock. I bought this weekly stair step bull break and still in that position. Just looking for the extremes to hit the first sign of a reversal. So utilize those stair steps when you can. The dominance chart, weekly downtrend confirmed. Not a ton of information there. Well, what stands out on the dominance chart, and I know a lot of people don't like the dominance chart. Again, for me, it's just a small piece of the puzzle, a little clue, and it does give me a little snapshot. This tells me, by looking at this dominance chart, I can say, okay, well, alts have been bouncing while Bitcoin has been dropping, and that's the case. So that gives me information in a snapshot. Granted, I could pull up 8 altcoin charts and get the same information, but this literally is one chart where I get that information as opposed to 8. So it does give me useful information. And what we have setting up right now is a lot of these altcoins have been bouncing over the weekend with multiple days of bounce while Bitcoin did not do a thing. And now they're topping out and setting daily lower highs and pulling back. And they're positioned where if Bitcoin does get a daily bounce going from here, these altcoins are going to confirm daily uptrends, at least some of them. And so that is leading to relative strength in the altcoins compared to Bitcoin. And we'll look at some of the examples of that in just a moment, or right now. So ETH is doing the same thing as Bitcoin. It's a little bit stronger. Its bounce was more significant off of its fear low. And ETH BTC is testing this triple top, and we technically broke it, but not convincingly. Look at all this price action in the last couple of months at this level. If this breaks bull, we're watching this weekly falling wedge. And the reason we're watching a weekly falling wedge here is because a longer term 3-month higher low is potentially shaping up. If this breaks bull, that's the first indication to me that this 3-month equilibrium, we've been talking about this for 6 months at this point. I'm watching for a 3-month higher low and a continued tightening range into next year. And I'm watching for a weekly falling wedge to potentially indicate that that 3-month higher low is forming. We're going to go back and talk about Bitcoin longer term here in just a moment. We're going to get to some altcoins first and then back to Bitcoin longer term in terms of, is this the top? Are we heading back to fear lows? And I got to talk about the broader market and the dollar again to go over that. And if you're on our email list, you'll be getting a video that I made over the weekend for TheChartGuys members, just a glimpse of some of the weekend content, but it's a 10-minute long-term video that will fit very well with this. So some altcoins, Rune, still a lead bull. Daily consolidation underway, inside bar bear break, but the fact that we shot up to a higher high here, obviously it's not doing anything like what most altcoins are doing. That said, it did just shift fairly significantly, and we have a very wide illiquid range, and I call it illiquid because if you go to the 5-minute time frame, you can see that this was a massive amount of volatility in a very short amount of time. This is a lack of liquidity. If you can go up 30% in 20 minutes and then drop 30% in 30 minutes, it's not liquid. Why doesn't Apple ever do that? Because Apple has an insane amount of liquidity and market makers on that name. So what I'd be looking for on Rune is an equilibrium. I'd be viewing this as the low and the high on that wild candle. Lower high now set. You could be on the 6-hour time frame. 6 hours probably a bit clearer. And now we're looking for a higher low to try and form. And if it does, we're then just going to look for the lower high and a tightening range. And then a break of this range probably towards the end of this week. But the bulls still have proving to do. Need to confirm. Trying to confirm the hourly uptrend. And then we'll look towards upper 170s and see if we continue tightening up. Could get a break by Wednesday. But burden is still on the bulls in the short term. And again, just keeping in mind, a name that has run this much, if we don't see confidence return to the crypto space, the stronger names will likely weaken a bit. So just have to keep that in mind as well. Just now I want to go over an example of, first off, we know there's a whole bunch of alts that are still weak, but let's just quickly look at, again, the bounce. So XLM, flush, 3-day big bounce. Can we shape up a daily uptrend if the Bitcoin daily oversold bounce gets going? And that's the question for a ton of names. Atom, lower high. XRP, nice bounce, lower high. Can we confirm the trend changes? The trend change attempts are much more developed on a lot of these altcoins than Bitcoin, which has not even started a daily bounce. But let's look at bear opportunities now in hindsight. But what do we look for? Most likely scenarios. We know the most likely scenario on all these altcoins are daily lower highs to be the result of this bounce. How do we pinpoint those daily lower highs? We look for a confluence of signals. This is trading 101. Determine the most likely scenario based on price level trends and retracement sizes. You can use fibs. Number 2, look for a confluence of signals. Hourly RSI getting overbought as a back burner for the first time. A bearish pattern shaping up on the hourly. So ADA is an example over the weekend. So ADA on the daily bounced for 3 days. We know it's in a long-term downtrend. And so the setup is ADA hourly RSI is approaching overbought. That's a back burner. I like playing back burners on bounces, but I definitely use them in the other direction as well. The RSI is useful in the direction that you are trending. So we're trending bearish. So the RSI overbought signals are useful as shorts on longer term time frames. So the hourly RSI is approaching overbought. We have a clear 4-hour uptrend guide right now as we scout the daily lower high. Aggressive bears are keeping an eye for a potential hourly rising wedge. And it was an hourly rising wedge. Bull breaks lacking follow through. So bull break into consolidation, bull break into consolidation, and then we just roll over. So again, daily lower high most likely scenario. Hourly RSI back burner hitting overbought for the first time. Bearish reversal pattern. You've got 3 confluences there of signals. So let's just say I'm short at 127 or 27. What can I do now? Well, I can just lock in a 4% win and say, all right, nice trade. Daily lower high set. I'm anticipating a daily higher low is the most likely scenario because it was a pretty decent bounce. Or I could sell half. My break even's at 28. Stick my stop. Break even. I cannot lose. If we keep weak and the daily downtrend continues, I've got a great entry. If we don't, I stop out and don't lose a thing. Because Bitcoin's still so oversold, I would be in the camp of locking in that profit, anticipating that a Bitcoin daily oversold bounce would lead to a daily higher low on ADA being the most likely scenario. And you can just go down the list, go back and practice. Yeah, it's in hindsight, but it's still practice. XRP. Hourly RSI got to overbought. It got a little bit of follow through from there. And then we confirmed the hourly downtrend. Then we confirmed a little 4-hour downtrend. And that marked the daily lower high. So again, it all starts with the premise of knowing that a daily lower high is the most likely result of that bounce. How do we then pinpoint it? And that's how you do it. It's trading 101. So Bitcoin, big picture. So we know we got the weekly rising wedge confirmed. That's right. We did talk about it before it happened, right? I was saying a lot of W's, the weekly rising wedge, right? Wasn't that last week? Anyways, if 24.7 holds, 24.7 is now the most important support level, short term. If that holds, we then have to be cautious of a head and shoulders. We're not out of the woods. What if we bounce and set a weekly lower high and then roll over? That's on the table as well as a possibility. For me, I keep going back to the broader market because the broader market sentiment dictates so much about crypto. Euphoria, people are throwing money at crypto. Fear, people want nothing to do with crypto. And so, what we're going to see on SPY and the NASDAQ is either, these are 2 very different scenarios, but we're getting one or the other in my opinion. This is either a cup and handle to new all-time highs with a monthly bull flag. Here's the NASDAQ. Cup and handle on the monthly, all-time high. Obviously, that would be best case for the crypto bulls. Or we confirm a weekly downtrend after next bounce and shape up a 4-month equilibrium. All-time high, fear low, lower high, boring 2024 tightening range. That's on the table as well. A lot is going to be dictated by the dollar, in my opinion. If the dollar tops out whenever it's going to top out, If it confirms a weekly uptrend, that's the dollar 4-month longer term higher low. And that would favor the inverse SPY and QQQ 4-month lower highs. If the dollar next weekly consolidation heads back to the lows, that favors a monthly cup and handle on the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ. Again, those are two very different scenarios. Opposite sentiment, opposite emotions will be in play in the market, depending on which of those two things takes place. In scenario one, if SPY and QQQ head back to all-time highs, I'm looking for Bitcoin to be a monthly higher low, ideally holding 24.7, and then one more high. Head to the upper 30s, mid to upper 30s. If not, if that's a 4-month lower high shaping up on the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ, this is a potential bear flag still. Look at the retracement size. We're not even close to negating the bear flag. We've been talking about this a lot over the last all year, saying, all right, it's a nice bounce, but we need more. And so we just have to keep in mind this is on the table. I don't think Bitcoin will head to a new fear low unless the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ break the low of last year. If the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ give us a tightening long-term range most of 2024, then I'm going to look for Bitcoin to do that on maybe the 3-month chart. And we'll look for a pullback and then a 3-month higher low and then a tightening range. So that is, I mean, the next month is pretty critical for me setting the table for 2024. Because again, either the NASDAQ and the S&P 500 are either going to confirm a weekly downtrend or not as a result of the next bounce. And I got to see what the dollar does next weekly consolidation. What's the retracement size? Does it favor continuation? Does it favor an equilibrium, 50% plus retracement? We've had big bounces that we gave it all back. So it's a possibility, but prepare for both scenarios. Establish your game plan for the two majorly different scenarios that I just laid out for the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ. Now, what could break the correlation? And again, we don't have a tick-for-tick correlation with the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ right now. We have in the past where the 5-minute charts did the same thing. Right now, it's a sentiment correlation that I care about. And the link between the legacy markets and crypto is their inverse relationship to the dollar, in my opinion. That's the connecting force right now. All right. I think that's what I got to say. 80 likes after all that? Come on, it's 105 likes at least. All right, I'm reading the chat room now. Hey, everyone. What do I do during boring sideways hours? I will sometimes keep staring at the charts. I mean, if I'm running the Chart Guys chat room, which is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm all in terms of doing that, then yes, I'm going to still be looking around at things. And, you know, I'll go outside for 30 minutes here and there, but I'm sticking at the computer. If I were not running the chat room, then shut it down and go do something else. It depends at what stage you're at. Are you in the obsession stage where you're trying to see as much price action and as many charts as possible to log it into your library memory for the next decade of use? Then yeah, keep putting away that time. If you've got, you know, a job, but this is your window to put in the time, then yes, put in the time. But obviously you don't want to be over trading in a slower environment. Doing good, Metabolic, thanks. $108 likes. All right, thanks. Danny likes adding Bitcoin in small increments over the long term. Absolutely, that's DCA. And if you are an investor and looking for a long-term position, that is the way to do it. Just either set a stop loss or anticipate that it can go to zero mentally. Rox is back, as negative as always. XMR monthly support range. $115, $135. So for me, it's $115 and $126. Well, $132. I'm sure it's different on different exchanges. But it's, I mean, that is the must-hold level. If that level breaks, big red flags, obviously. Again, go to the long term. That's a 4-month bear flag. We have to hold that level and break the bounce high to negate this bear flag. So the burden is on bulls to do that. Otherwise, if that long-term bear flag confirms, again, big red flag, heading back down towards where we came from. Do I care about blockchain, or is it just a trade? So I would love for the financial system to be upended and changed through blockchain and crypto. You know, my roots are from the Occupy movement, very anti-banks, all that back in 2011. But when I am a trader, and my personal opinions, there's Trader Dan's opinions and Dan's opinions. And Trader Dan's opinions are very different because these are all flashing numbers, and my purpose here as a trader is to profit. That's it. That is why I'm clicking these buttons. I'm not clicking these buttons to support blockchain. You know, my positions are not going to have any impact on that whatsoever. So when I'm a trader, the purpose is for profit. If you're asking the person, Dan, what his opinions are, then they're different. Yeah, blockchain's great. Banks suck. But I also am a bit jaded through my experiences with the Occupy movement. And that's what led to me being a trader. Was I wanted, you know, early 20s, we're gonna change everything. And then, oh no, we're not changing anything. All right, fine, I'll learn how to play your game. And so then I dedicated the next decade to learning how to play their game and playing it my way. Thanks, XLR Profits. Glad it helps, Roadhouse. Thanks for the support. MOVR. Just a couple more here. I got a live stream about stocks at the end of the day for TheChartGuys members. So MOVR is as bearish as it gets. We're in a downtrend on every time frame. We're at all-time lows on Binance. Look at the weekly EMA 12. That has been resistance for the last 4 months. So just keep it simple. If we do not close over 4-hour EMA, if we do not close over weekly EMA 12 resistance, nothing changes. Just put yourself in a bear mindset. If you're a bear, do you have anything to worry about on this chart whatsoever? Nope. If weekly EMA 12 is resistance, just keep holding. Nothing changes about that chart until that changes. NQ correlation. So let's go to Bitcoin. I'm just going to use QQQ for ease of typing. Weekly head and shoulders starting in January. I assume you mean this. Let's smooth it out. 2-week time frame. Left shoulder, head, right shoulder. Yep, that's a possibility. If we continue to see weakness, Bitcoin's going to drop faster. I mean, that's essentially what the mindset is. If we're confident in the NASDAQ, Bitcoin's going to go up more because people are going to be willing to throw their money into crypto. And if we're seeing weakness and fear, Bitcoin and crypto is going to lead the way down because it's one of the highest risk, highest reward assets, and when it's one of the first things to get sold off in a fearful environment. What did I do before trading? I was in college when I started trading. And then before I took it seriously full-time every single day, regimented routine, I was traveling around the country, living out of my car. I was working on farms, living in a community house, turning that into a little farm. That stuff. Check out the Q&As. We got a bunch of Q&As over the last 8 years on our YouTube channel that goes into a whole lot of everything. We're looking at the volume. How do you weigh the different volume on different time frames? Comparatively. Meaning, I'm comparing today's volume to previous day's volume. I'm comparing the 15-minute volume to the previous 15-minute volumes and the average. This orange line is the 20-period average volume. So I can see if it's going to be higher or lower. I can also look at the time and say, I mean, we have a really good example of when we were live streaming for the XLM top, and we nailed the volume climax on that because we could see this candle is only a third of the way through, and we already have 75% of the previous candle's volume. And that made me real confident that this was going to be a 15-minute volume climax candle. So you compare to the previous candle, you compare how much time is left in the candle and percentages. If we've got 30% of the volume and the candle is 60% of the way done, it's a lower volume candle very likely to form. Any advice for the contrarian trader? You just got to be cautious that you don't go contrarian just to be contrarian. I'm very often contrarian when everybody's on one side of the boat. And so I hedged my long-term portfolios July 18th, my IRA, not due to anything on the chart in terms of any sign of weakness. The only reason I did was because there was euphoria on Twitter. And it was, all right, this is excessive euphoria. We've been going straight up for 3 months. Some of these stocks like Meta and NVDA have been going straight up for 8, 10 plus months. And it was just that's way too much euphoria. Everybody's on one side of the boat. That was a contrarian mindset for me. And KRE, regional bank bottom, was the exact opposite. I did a poll on Twitter right around here and said, what's the probability that another regional bank fails in May? And 80% of respondents said another one's going to fail. And then I thought, okay, well, that means if no other regional banks fail in May, we're going to go up because everybody is positioned for more failures. And so that helped me be contrarian and long the regional banks because everybody was on one side of the boat bearish. So I would say it's fine, but sentiment has to be a major aspect, not just price. I mean, you don't want to be a contrarian to price. You want to be a contrarian to sentiment if it's everybody saying one thing, which is why the Bitcoin halving narrative, I am not sold that it's just going to always be the way that it's been. There is going to be a Bitcoin halving that goes straight into a bear market that nobody is expecting because everybody looks for the halving to be bullish. And that's only going to work so often. It's not going to work every time. It's how markets work. Something works until it doesn't. I didn't change my RSI setting. That they changed it. There's just a moving average now, and it just is colored. That's it. I didn't do anything. All right. No Pine script for my trades. Appreciate you all. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to do good things. And keep an eye on the dollar.